Hi, welcome to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. To us, OC stands for our community because we believe that a community is stronger when we come together. That's why we thank you for joining us each Tuesday evening on channel 56.10 on Little Saigon TV and on Wednesday morning. As you know, this is a bilingual English and Vietnamese program dedicated to educating, empowering, and inspiring our community. Today on our show, we have two very special guests, Nancy Osborne Jackson and Wyatt Jackson, who's going to join us later on to the show. But today, we want to first share with you Nancy's autism journey, her activism work, and also to introduce to you Wyatt, his autism, and what an amazing artist that he is. Julie kính chào quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV trong chương trình kiến thức y khoa, gia đình và xã hội. Hôm nay Julie muốn giới thiệu cho quý vị Nancy Osborne Jackson và sau đó là Wyatt Jackson. Bên đây mình sẽ nói về tháng 4 là một tháng để dành cho tự kỷ, mà mình muốn hiểu thêm về cái autism journey, về cái kinh nghiệm của Nancy với Wyatt, về cái khiếu của em trong về có tự kỷ, mà cũng có rất nhiều cái khiếu để cho làm họa sĩ. Nancy, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Julie. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Now, you know, I want to introduce the audience to you because you've had many years and decades on television yourself.
Yes.
But I want people to know a little bit about who you are as a mom and your journey in life.
Okay, well, it's a lot to tell. A little over 6 decades on this planet, and I've had several careers. First as a television producer for 25 years, and then as an author and motivational speaker for midlife women. And then when my son was diagnosed with autism, I became an autism advocate and activist.
Wow.
And I am a momager.
I like that word.
Of my brilliant son, Wyatt Jackson. Here you see one of his paintings. He is a brilliant artist. He is on the autism spectrum. And yeah, we've had quite a journey. Let me go back a little bit. I'll go back to the early 90s when my husband and I were trying to have a child. My husband had prostate cancer, so we could not have a child biologically. So we went through all kinds of infertility treatments, egg donor, failed adoption, and a horrific adoption scam.
Wow.
Where a woman in Arizona pretended to be pregnant and wasn't. And I had pretty much given up hope of having a child. And on 9/11, the 9/11, I was watching the TV, as I think we all were, riveted. And the phone rang, and it was the adoption center's assistant, the adoption attorney's assistant. And she said, Nancy, a new birth mother has come in. And the First Trade Center had collapsed. And I said, yeah, I was really cynical and devastated by this adoption scam. And I said, you know, first of all, look at the TV. I don't know if any of us will even be here tomorrow with what's going on. I don't know that I can look at another profile. And she said, I have a different feeling about this. And right at that moment, I looked at the TV and the second tower collapsed.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, think of all the parents that will never be coming home again. Parents that will never be walking through that door, never be making dinner, never be giving their kids a bath, never singing them a lullaby, the little things.
Right.
And it was God said to me, you can still do that. So I said, I'll come in.
Having a restored faith.
I came in the next day. I was on a plane, couldn't fly out of LAX, out of plane in Burbank, met with his birth mother, and it was a match. And he was born, that was 9/11 that I found out about him coming into my life. He was born on 11/9.
Oh.
So it was kind of star-crossed, if you will.
Yeah.
And the first year of my life with Wyatt was the most blissful year of my life, our lives, my husband and I. I had wanted a child so desperately. And then around, it probably started happening a little over a year old, but I was way more aware of it when he was about 2. The changes started.
Yes.
He was an early everything, early talker, early walker. He was walking at 9 months, talking very early, everything, perfect eye contact, perfect everything. And all of a sudden, it was almost like he went deaf. He wasn't hearing me. He wasn't engaging in his toys, repetitive action, watching the same things over and over. I remember Baby Einstein, he would watch it over and over again. And tantrums. The tantrums were the worst. They started when he was about 2, and multiple tantrums a day.
Now, as you share your journey, there's so many stories and facets about you. And what I love about what you're doing today is you're just so open. You're open to sharing the struggles, the stories, and the pains, but also the joy. And one thing that I'm hearing from you is this reminder that we always have hope and we always have another day for today. And you're celebrating that. So Nancy, I just want to say thank you so much for inspiring us that, no matter what life brings to you, if you have another day to breathe, there's just more hope and more ways to affect others. Well, I just want to make sure that our audience, can follow with you because there's so much to share. First and foremost, your experience and your work professionally, it's already an accomplishment. But to be able to transition throughout the course of your life to being a mom and to a momager and to doing so much more. So thank you Nancy for sharing all that.
Thank you Julie.
Thưa quý vị, hôm nay Julie có thời gian đặc biệt nói chuyện với Nancy Osborne Jackson. Nancy Osborne Jackson là một người làm trong TV mấy chục năm, cũng 25 năm rồi, mà có rất nhiều kinh nghiệm, rất là nổi tiếng. Mà điều lúc mà Nancy có thời gian được làm người mẹ, là được cái adoption, thì Nancy muốn chia sẻ với mình đó là Nancy có cái kinh nghiệm là trước nhất mình thấy cái biểu hiện sớm là em bị tự kỷ, về khó khăn nói chuyện, bị có nhiều cái hành vi mà Julie thấy đó là hôm nay quý vị thấy đó là lúc mà Nancy có chuyện á, là Nancy rất là mở rộng ra, nói chuyện hết, là giống như cái adoption là cũng cái khó khăn mà cũng bị lừa gạt, mà điều cũng không có mất cái mình nói là cái hope, cái hy vọng. Thì nhiều lúc á mình thấy đó là trong gia đình mà có em bị khuyết tật, em bệnh, cái phụ huynh đó cũng lo lắng nhiều, mà mình thấy đó là luôn luôn mình chừng nào mình có cái hy vọng, mình thấy cái tương lai nó sáng sủa, nó đẹp hơn. Hôm nay Nancy có trình bày với mình rất nhiều cái hình ảnh của Wyatt làm việc. Và cũng có làm rất nhiều tiền luôn. Nancy, I would just want to make sure that, our bilingual audience who's watching today has a really good opportunity to really know a little bit about your journey and about, your character, your spirit in which you bring today. I was just mentioning them to our audience is that you're so open about your journey. And
I believe there's Brené Brown, the philosopher and educator, says, one day you will tell about what you went through, and how you overcame it, and it will be someone else's survival guide.
But like a lot of time, Nancy, that when we read these, it makes sense. But when you're in the thick of it, sometimes we're embarrassed to share some of our struggles. And I think what I see today is a strong woman who embraces everything as almost a gift and a stepping stone for you to move forward. Because, I know, Nancy, that we mentioned a little bit about your husband, and after the commercial break, we'll definitely talk and introduce him to the world. But I just want to, segue over and continue our conversation soon.
Great.
Julie, cảm ơn quý vị khán giả. Hôm nay mình có thời gian nói chuyện với Nancy Osborne Jackson. Sau vòng quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Nancy and hiểu thêm về công việc của chị trong cộng đồng của mình. Để đặc biệt cho mấy em bị khuyết tật, về bị tự kỷ, về có rất nhiều cái hy vọng thêm. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. We're continuing our conversation with Nancy Oswald Jackson and and learn more about her autism journey. It's a journey that she wasn't able just to take by go alone, but you had a partner.
I did.
So I wanted to know more about your husband, your late husband, and what that journey looked like with him and with by your side.
Right. Wyatt's father, Reed Jackson, who I married in 1992, he was a very accomplished television producer. Did 60 Minutes and World News Tonight and many other shows. And we, of course, adopted Wyatt at birth. And then Wyatt regressed into autism as a toddler. And it wasn't easy, Julie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I really sympathize and empathize with parents out there that are going through it. It's a very confusing time.
Yes.
And I had an epiphany one day. Wyatt had had a particularly bad tantrum. He had broken a vase. It was on the floor. I was bleeding, tears, holding him. And I just prayed to God, and I said, God, if you tell me what this thing is that has happened to my child, I will do anything you ask me to do. And shortly after, Wyatt was diagnosed with autism. What he asked me to do was help other families, but I didn't hear that right then, that day, but it came later, and we'll talk about that. But it was hard for my husband, you know. He, let's face it, you want the kid that's going to be the football player, you want to play sports with your kid, you want to do these things with your kid, and your kid's not even talking, and he's not making eye contact, and he's running around like a whirling dervish. And so we jumped in with treatment. He got a late diagnosis.
At what age did he get diagnosed?
Correctly diagnosed at 4.
Okay.
He was diagnosed with PDD, NOS, pervasive developmental disorder, nonspecific, when he could have been diagnosed with autism. Anybody could have seen it. But anyway.
Now, as far as the course of the treatment, a lot of times, you know, I'm a speech pathologist and a behavioral therapist myself. And a lot of times, even those of us who work in the field, we have a hard time advocating for our patients, making sure they have a very capable team to really help the needs of the child. Now, I want to ask you, how were you able to bring that team together, and did that take a long time?
It took a lot of work. He was in speech therapy before he was diagnosed, and he was in preschool, but nobody mentioned the word autism. Not the speech therapist, nobody. And when I finally got the diagnosis, I called my home office, University of Google. I put 2 signs, Autism Central, University of Google, and I did everything I could. I just dove in. How was I going to help my child? I found Defeat Autism Now, which is a conference of doctors who treat children biomedically, boosting the immune system, detoxifying. We went with a brilliant biomedical doctor, Dr. Andrew Levinson, who was in Miami. We flew to Miami. We did everything. We did some controversial treatments, chelation, ridding the body of heavy metals, intravenous gamma globulin infusions, which is boosting the immune system. Most importantly, we did ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis, very intensively. We should have done it more intensively. They recommend to start it at age 2 if you can get the diagnosis in, 40 hours a week. We started when Wyatt was just about 5, 30 hours a week. And I had to advocate for those services. I had to get it through the state regional center, and I had to, then it switched over to insurance. It was always a battle to get these services.
But I'm glad that Wyatt have you on his team, because, you know, one thing that you're sharing with us today is that having a child newly diagnosed with autism isn't easy.
Never easy.
And, you know, a lot of times when we get to a certain point with our kids, you know, we get to celebrate them. But in the beginning, it wasn't a celebration.
No, it was not.
And I, like I said, Nancy, I love your candidness. And, you know, because a lot of times our parents don't get to see that part, you know. And when someone has a newly diagnosed child, we want to say everything is going to be okay. But I think when you're in the thick of it, it doesn't feel like everything is okay.
No,
and
it
it's
does
okay
not.
to feel that way.
That's right.
You know, and that's what I love, you know, is what I'm learning from you. And every conversation I had before we had this show was, you know, embrace the feelings. Whatever the
Definitely.
feelings may be,
You
embrace
need to.
the feeling.
You can't stay stuck in denial.
Right.
You've got to move forward. You can't be in that place because
Yes,
that's not
yes.
going to serve you.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing about this show is I really want our families to see that. That you as a mom have this great idea, you know, to embrace everything that they're feeling and don't be afraid to feel.
Right.
You know. So thưa quý vị, hôm nay Julie thấy đó là mình có thời gian nói chuyện với Nancy Osborne Jackson. Nancy Osborne Jackson là một người mẹ mà có con bị tự kỷ, mà không phải là hôm nay mình thấy đó là Nancy nói là rất là mở rộng ra, không có giấu gì hết, là tại muốn cho mình hiểu đó là lúc mà Nancy thấy con mình bị tự kỷ thì cũng buồn, cũng lo lắng, cũng có rất nhiều cái khó khăn, mà lúc mình cảm giác mấy cái đó mình đừng có giấu, mình phải chấp nhận để cho mình có mình đi bước trước, mình giúp cho con được. Nancy là một người mẹ rất tìm hiểu mà rất tìm được rất nhiều cái chương trình. Mình thấy đó là Nancy nói một cái gì là controversial treatment, là có nhiều gia đình bị tự kỷ, mình có rất nhiều phương pháp có thể giúp em, mà chừng nào mình không có cái nhà nghiên cứu ủng hộ cái chương trình đây, mình cũng phải cẩn thận một chút. Mà cái chương trình mà Nancy nói là rất là tốt đó, là speech therapy, là dạy nói, là trước khi 4 tuổi ha bị cái triệu chứng tự kỷ mà bác sĩ chứng nhận đó là Wyatt có chương trình speech therapy giúp cho em nói. Mà Nancy nói là cái chương trình mà thấy là tiến bộ nhiều nhất á, là chương trình ABA, là được 30 tiếng luôn. Nhưng thì Julie thấy là rất là mình hiểu đó là mình cho chương trình nó sớm, chừng nào tốt chừng nấy. Tự kỷ là mình xác nhận sớm lắm, thường biểu hiện 1-2 tuổi mình có thể thấy rồi. Thì hy vọng quý vị theo dõi chương trình đây sẽ hiểu thêm về triệu chứng tự kỷ. Trước nhất mình thấy con mắt của em không có dầm chính xác, chậm phát triển. 1 tuổi mình phải biết ít nhất 1 chữ, 2 tuổi phải biết ít nhất 200 từ, 3 tuổi phải biết ghép 3 chữ thành câu. Thì đại khái mình biết cái đó thì mình biết lúc nào mình phải đi bác sĩ gia đình để cho giới thiệu. So Nancy, I was just, also trying to educate the community that, as you mentioned that, as a parent with a child on the spectrum, you do your research.
Right.
And you realize that there's so many different types of treatments. As a therapist and as a medical professional, there are certain regimen that we follow. As a mom, we have to respect your choices, your wishes, and be supportive of that. And one thing I love about what you said was that, you did the research. You went to all the professionals that you felt that was able to help your son. But one of the things that you mentioned was that ABA was a huge improvement.
I want to encourage your audience. There's a great resource here in Orange County. It's called TACA, the Autism Community in Action. You should have Lisa Ackerman on your show.
Okay.
Autism Mom. It's right here in Orange County. They have parent mentors. They will guide you through the journey. You need help. Get help. CARD, Center for Autism and Related Disorders, CARD, is where Wyatt's received ABA therapy since he was 5. He's 21 now. He still gets it 9 hours a week.
Wow.
So CARD is a great resource. There's so many books out there. There's the MAPS, MAPS, organization of doctors who help you biomedically. There's so many resources today. I was back in the dark ages of the internet, but I found everything and I was blessed to find it.
Well, hold your thought. We're going to go to a commercial break, but definitely continue our journey and to learn more about all the amazing things that you do to advocate for your child and help other families. So we haven't had a chance to touch on the activism part.
Okay.
Julie, cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hôm nay Nancy nói đó là nhiều gia đình mình bị có con tự kỷ. Mình lên internet, mình tìm hiểu chút, mà điều giống như Julie là thấy là rất nhiều cái gia đình phụ huynh có ráng tìm cái chương trình giúp cho em, mình phải cẩn thận chút để cho mình hiểu trước và make sure là cái nhà nghiên cứu có ủng hộ về bác sĩ gia đình của mình với mấy người có bằng cấp hướng dẫn mình chút để cho case management. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. Today we have Nancy Oswald Jackson here to talk about her autism journey, but very candidly. Julie thấy hôm nay mình có thời gian nói chuyện với Nancy. Nancy là một người muốn chia sẻ với quý vị cho mình hiểu biết thêm về triệu chứng tự kỷ, mà là về cái khó khăn nhiều gia đình bị tự kỷ, bố mẹ đó là rất có nhiều bị tâm bệnh, mà cũng có nhiều addiction, có rất nhiều cái khó khăn. Nancy là cũng mất người chồng thương mến, mà cũng có nhiều cái addiction về cái khó khăn với con, mà hôm nay muốn tới đài để chia sẻ với quý vị là mình vẫn có cái khó khăn này, mà mình chấp nhận cái khó khăn thì mình có thể làm cái bước, mình phải đến một cái bước trước để cho mình thấy nó tốt đẹp hơn. Now, Nancy, I just wanted to mention to the audience that we talked during the commercial break that, you know, a lot of families with kids with autism, they struggle.
Absolutely.
They struggle to advocate for their kids, as I struggle even to advocate for my own children.
Yeah. And let me add that we had money back then.
Yeah.
We lost that money, but we had it then. My
Wow.
husband was making a lot of money, and we were the lucky ones. You know, I always keep in mind, for some reason, the checkout clerk at Ralph's always was in my head, like, what about that woman? And what if she has 4 kids?
Yeah.
And maybe 2 on the spectrum? What does she do? Which is kind of what propelled me into my advocacy. I decided I wanted to give back after Wyatt started getting better. And because he was improving, slowly but surely he improved.
Okay.
And we did special diet too, gluten-free, dairy-free, no food color, no sugar. So he was improving, and I thought, how can I give back? And that was what God wanted me to do. So I threw a fundraiser in my backyard. We were
Literally in your backyard.
In my backyard, the community of Hidden Hills, equestrian, lots of celebrities live there, the Kardashians and others. Through a fundraiser called Denim and Diamonds for Autism. And I invited the whole neighborhood, and practically the whole neighborhood came.
Wow.
And my friends from television, Lisa Gibbons, I produced her talk show for many years. Tom Bergeron from Dancing with the Stars, I worked with him early in my career. They came and hosted. I just called people. I said, help. And they did. They came. And it became one of the biggest charity events in Southern California.
Wow. Now, what organization did you...
This was Autism Care Today,
Autism Care Today,
which is still in existence. I left doing that job 4 years ago.
So you were the executive director?
Executive director for 14 years.
So the founder and executive director?
No, Dr. Dorian Grampichot, who runs Center for Autism and Related Disorders, was the founder.
Okay.
But after, we did Denim and Diamonds. The proceeds went to Act Today.
Okay.
And she said, join the board. And then 5 minutes later, would you be part-time executive director? And I'm like, yes. And that became full-time, and it became my passion.
Now, what did the funds and the proceeds do for the community of the disability?
For families that can't afford treatment and care. And Act Today still does that, Autism Care Today. And we gave grants to needy families for everything, for ABA, for speech, for iPads, for assisted communication, advocates, school advocates, all kinds of things. And we helped a lot of kids. I mean, there was a boy my church and I helped bring over from Uganda, who was being tortured in his village. They thought he was possessed by demons. Worked with the embassy to bring him here. It's a miracle. I saw him at church.
Well, thank you so much for your activism and your energy and your passion. So despite all the struggles that you had, you know, with grieving process.
When my husband died in 2016, it was very difficult. Long battle with cancer. Very difficult for me and Wyatt. And I did not really deal with his death. I was running Act Today, be full-time mom to Wyatt, doing all that. And I went to a psychiatrist, got Xanax for my anxiety. I was drinking as well. I have a history of alcoholism in my family. And I became addicted. And I ended up having to go to rehab.
And it's not uncommon for families with children with disabilities.
I think it's a silent epidemic.
Okay.
Special needs families with substance abuse problems. And I ended up in rehab. I had to go to detox to get off the Xanax. Ended up in rehab for 2 months. Very tough on Wyatt. He was like, Mom, what happened? And I said, Mom got broken. But
no, I like the way you said that. Mom got broken.
Mom got broken.
But who helped you piece back together?
AA and God. My church community, my faith, and AA. helped me come back together. And
well, Nancy, thank you so much for just really inspiring. And that's what this show is about. It's about having hard conversations. It's about sharing the human experience and reminding everybody they're not alone.
Nobody's alone, you know.
In their experience, in their feelings,
right.
in their challenges.
Wyatt's here with his aide, John, and John and his wife, Andrea, live with us. I couldn't have done it without them. I couldn't have done it without my brother, my family, my friends. It takes a village to raise a child, especially to raise a child with autism, and it takes a village to get somebody through hardship.
Well, thank you, Nancy, so much for sharing all that information. Hôm nay quý vị thấy đó, lúc mà Julie nói chuyện với Nancy chia sẻ rất nhiều cái khó khăn mà nhiều lúc mình thấy người Việt Nam của mình đâu có dám nói về cái khó khăn của mình đâu, hoặc cái gì mình thấy nó xấu mình không có muốn ai biết hết. Mà Julie thích nói chuyện với Nancy. Lúc mà trước khi lên show đây mình cũng nói chuyện trên điện thoại rất nhiều. Nancy luôn luôn muốn chia sẻ với quý vị là muốn nhắc nhở quý vị đó là gia đình mà có em bị khuyết tật, mình có rất nhiều cái khó khăn, có thể là mình không có biết làm sao mình giúp con được, thì mình cũng có nhiều cái căng thẳng. Nancy nói là Nancy phải đi bác sĩ tâm lý, phải uống thuốc. Lúc mà mất người chồng thân mến thì cũng có nhiều cái khó khăn sau đó, mà cũng có alcohol addiction. Mà điều Julie hỏi là Nancy nói đó là Wyatt là rất thấy là lúc mà mẹ có cái khó khăn đó, Wyatt nói là cũng có nhiều cái khó khăn mà Nancy nói là I'm broken. Mà điều Julie nói chừng nào mình broken là ai sửa để cho giúp được, thì Nancy nói là trước nhất là God, mà cũng phải có nhiều người bạn về thương mến để cho giúp trong cái journey đó. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing your autism journey. I'm trying my best to recapture kind of the beauty of your journey, but not just the beauty, but even the dark spaces. You know, I'm hoping to have more opportunities to see where this dark space is and how you brought hope back into your life and how you inspire and continue to inspire so many of us autism families and so many of us who have autism. My kids have what they call high functioning autism, and I hate that term because what it does, it is masks the needs of us. You know, so I struggle a lot with anxiety,
just as many challenges
depressions,
with your
and all of these things.
Absolutely.
But I don't look autistic, and that's one thing about it. You know, when our audience has a chance to meet Wyatt, they'll see that he's a handsome, worthy, extremely talented man. You have a couple of paintings in front, and we haven't been able to share that. Can you tell us a little about what he does?
Well, Wyatt was always an artist.
Oh.
It's what I call it his autism superpower.
Yes.
He has many superpowers. He's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing artist. He's an amazing young man. I believe all our kids have a divine connection with God. Maybe it's because they don't have that junk in their head. They're kind of uncluttered, if you will. And I think all special needs kids have a special place with God.
If we allow ourselves to find it. And
Absolutely.
See it.
So Wyatt's always been very devout. He's always prayed before every meal. He's always been drawn. He's been at Sunday school, Gospel Bear, Vacation Bible School, church. He just loves worshiping God. And his art, he started painting when he was a year old. And this is interesting because it started as a self-stimulatory behavior.
What kids with autism like to do repeatedly.
Yeah, his self-stimulatory behavior is splashing water. So what we realized is he started painting, finger painting first, then we put a paintbrush in his hand, and he would dip it in the water, dip it in the paint, dip it in the water, dip it in the paint. So it's literally shaping a self-stimulatory behavior. And I have a friend.
So you took something that seems like a problem and then build from that.
Your disability is your opportunity. Yes. We have friends who have...
I love what you said. Your disability is your opportunity.
That's Kurt Hahn, who invented Outward Bound, which I went to many years ago. And I lived by that. And I have a friend whose son was a hand flapper. They stuck drumsticks in his hand. Logan is one of the top young rock drummers today.
Well, Nancy, hold that thought. After the commercial break, we're going to get to meet Wyatt and see the amazing, talented person that he is. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau phần quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ có một cái thời gian giới thiệu cho quý vị Wyatt Jackson, the artist behind all of these paintings. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. Right now on our show we have Wyatt Jackson. Wyatt, welcome to the show.
Hi, my name is Wyatt Jackson and I like painting on canvases, and I also like painting on egg cartons and Starbucks trays.
Yes.
And I also like the different colors I use on them.
That's right, you do. And he started painting on, as he said, egg cartons and Starbucks trays. He loves colors and started doing that.
Okay.
And then he was doing art in school, and we saw that he was very gifted. He actually painted a wine carton, a big wine carton in all these colors, and it won an award with the California State PTA. Remember when we went to San Jose and you got the award?
Yes, when I was 15, I got the award.
I know, and it hangs in his room. And then he started painting other things like landscapes, and he started studying under, who's your teacher?
My art teacher is named Paola.
Paola. She's from Peru. She's a brilliant, internationally known artist.
That's amazing.
And she started working with Wyatt on canvases, and he started doing landscapes, and all kinds of things. Like here's a Buddha and flowers. But he got commissioned to do a dog. That was his first dog, Julie,
this one?
right there, Bodhi.
So this is
the very first commission about a year and a half ago. A friend reached out to me on Facebook and said, could he do a dog? And I'll pay him.
Right.
So he got paid. This is a dog he did called Hannibal.
Who's this one? Right.
This is, I think, Miss P for our friend Suzanne. He also does cows. Wyatt, show the cow.
Look at the cow. What's its name?
What did you name? I think that one you named Elsie, and I think of this one you named Elmer.
Both.
Both.
Look at my cow paintings. There's a blue background and but mostly white.
Well, you know, that's one thing about it is, you know, we have been talking and alluding about his great talent. And it's so exciting for now the audience to see the beauty and the talent that he has. Wyatt, I'm so impressed.
Can I put it down?
Yes, you can. I don't think I can even do this.
Right,
now,
show Dakota. Dakota lives with us.
Oh.
Dakota?
This is Dakota Bear.
You want to show Dakota?
Dakota who?
This is Dakota, and he's white, and there's a green background, and I call him a polar bear, like Dakota Bear. And one of my hobbies are karate. Besides doing art, one of my hobbies are karate, playing sports like baseball, basketball, and I also like to do Nintendo Switch as well. And when John decides to go to Sky Zone for me to get good exercise, but mostly throw boomerangs a lot. And I also help in the kitchen and do chores, and I also have friends that come over like Drew, and I know Sean, and I also know Kiki, Riley, and Karina, and I also know John's friends like Amy and Diane and Megan Walker and Rachel Davido. And I also like to cook a lot, like eggs, bacon, and soup.
You know, Wyatt, I'm so excited to have you on the show because, you know, when you're on the show, I get to learn so much about who you are. And, you know, one of the things, Nancy, is that a lot of times people have a misperception about autism. That they don't think that people with autism can speak, or that people with autism are capable of other things.
Let me tell you about that. We pray together every morning.
I also like to read the Bible, and Jesus died on the cross. And before I go to school, I say, I am thankful, grateful, and blessed.
Every day, that's our mantra, right before he walks out the door.
Yes.
Thankful, grateful, blessed.
And every day we read different stories from Jesus.
Every day. And I was telling him about, one day morning, I was telling him about the shepherd and the lost sheep. And I said, do you know?
It's called the parable of the lost sheep.
I said, do you know what that means? He goes, it's the parable of the lost sheep, Mom. Like, hey, I know this.
Well, Wyatt, I'm going to make sure everybody knows how to get in contact with you and how to follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, unfortunately, our websites are under construction right now, but they will be. His will be called YArt, so look for it. I'll be under Nancy Allspaw without the Jackson. You can find me Nancy Allspaw Jackson on Facebook. He's YArt Autism on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Jumpin' Nan. And I encourage, also, I am more than happy to spend one-on-one time with moms going through the journey, because part of what we do as autism moms is we help each other. That's how I got help the most, was through other moms.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Julie muốn giới thiệu quý vị một lần nữa, đây là Wyatt Jackson. Wyatt Jackson là một người artist, là người họa sĩ, rất là có nhiều khiếu. Mà Wyatt nói đó là có một cái giáo dạy, Wyatt là Payalo. And một người đó là cũng là award winner, cũng có nhiều kinh nghiệm dạy. Wyatt vẽ rất nhiều mấy cái hình đây. Mình chừng nào quý vị thấy, quý vị muốn mướn Wyatt làm có cái commission, có thể about 150 đồng một cái hình, mà mình được cái original art. Mấy cái art trước mặt mình đó là cái reprint. But mình thấy đó là chừng nào quý vị muốn ủng hộ mấy em mà có tự kỷ, rất có nhiều cái khiếu, mình vừa giúp em mà mình có nhiều một cái hình ảnh để trình bày để cho ủng hộ mấy em đây. Julie thấy là rất nhiều ý nghĩa. Hôm nay và tháng này là tháng 4, là tháng 4 để dành cho tự kỷ. Mình muốn giới thiệu Wyatt cho quý vị thấy, đó là nhiều em tự kỷ cũng rất nhiều, có nhiều khiếu và nhiều khả năng, và giống như Wyatt nói, cũng rất nhiều bạn bè. Mấy tự kỷ có thể nó ngồi một mình, mà có thể họ muốn có bạn chứ không phải là không muốn. And Wyatt muốn chia sẻ với mình nên là cũng có rất nhiều thích chơi game, thích chơi sport, thì mình thấy rất là vui. Hy vọng hôm nay quý vị có hiểu chút về cái khả năng, về cái khiếu của một người tự kỷ. Julie cũng có tự kỷ. Hồi nhỏ Julie không có biết nhìn chính xác trong mắt mọi người. Tới lúc mà học high school không có bạn bè. Lúc mà có bằng master cũng chưa biết kết bạn nhiều. Sau đó từ từ mình hiểu biết nhau, với mình đi bác sĩ mình mới chỉnh được, mới hiểu thêm em mới có cái khiếu về cái khả năng giống ngày hôm nay. Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show.
You are so welcome. Can I just say, without Paula, he would not be able to do the things he does. I mean, he does it all himself, but she stands next to him.
Well, I'm going to also want to say, without you and Reed, he would not be as far as he is. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
For
you know
being
what?
such an inspiration and letting parents know it's okay to feel
I
the
just want to
darks
say to
and
the
the
parents
blights.
out there that at one time I thought of him as a burden. And now he's my greatest blessing.
Me too.
Now, Wyatt, what do you want to say to the audience that's watching today? I think that camera in the middle, that's yours right there. What do you want
I am a good artist, and I am talented at doing chores, cooking, playing video games, and talking with friends. Right now I am in vocational school, and I graduate next December. And after that, I will go to some camps, like see Dr. Mazer, go to Golden Heart Ranch, and other camps as well.
And what's important to be every day?
It is important to be kind, respectful, good behavior, be cool, and be flexible. But what if the answer is no?
And who do we love?
We love God, Nancy, and Jesus, and I believe in God and my dad all the time.
Oh, now can you remind us that mantra as I close the
What
show
do we say
today?
every morning?
We are thankful, grateful, and blessed.
Well, I am very thankful that you're here, grateful for your beautiful gift, and blessed
Thank
to
you,
have
Julie.
all those great messages from your mom, your dad, all the wonderful things that he's taught you. And I am so blessed to meet him through
Thank you,
you,
Julie.
which is a continuation of your dad. How cool is that?
That's
Well,
very cool.
yeah, Nancy, what's your last word as we close today?
My last word is, I've been at the bottom and I've been at the top of the mountain. But the one thing I've always had is faith.
Faith?
And without faith in God, I would not be here today.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all the gift of your family and of Wyatt's art.
Thank you, Julie.
And happy April Autism Awareness Acceptance Advocacy Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hôm nay mình hiểu thêm về tự kỷ. Luôn luôn Julie muốn cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi chương trình Kiến thức y khoa gia đình và xã hội. Chúc quý vị rất nhiều sức khỏe và may mắn. Cảm ơn.